This episode, and every episode of the Beer Guys radio show, is brought to you by Ironmonger Brewing. Visit Ironmonger at their taproom in Marietta, Georgia, or online at ironmongerbrewing.com.
Open up a tab, grab a seat, and pour a pint. It's time for the Beer Guys radio show.
You want free beer? Go to the brewery.
Dedicated to the art, science, and enjoyment of craft beer.
Yo, what's wrong with the beer we got?
Now, here are your hosts, Tim Dennis and Brian Hewitt.
And welcome to the Beer Guys radio show. We're broadcasting from Tinypalooza at the Lincoln Fill Station in Snellville, Georgia. Another beer fest for us, Brian.
Another beer fest.
This week we're going to have a variety of guests on here. We're going to talk to the guys from Alcovy Brewing. We're going to talk to the Southern Brewing Company. Maybe a couple surprise guests. Maybe a surprise guest
right now
in this segment, Brian. So I'm Tim Dennis, and with me as always is my good friend and co-host, Brian Hewitt.
Greetings, Tim. So joining us today, as you said, we have Joe Paul and Cody Winters, the co-founders of Alcovy Brewing Company, and Brian Roth, one of the founders of Southern Brewing Company. Of course, it wouldn't be Tinypalooza if we didn't talk to Tiny McClannan, the esteemed host of this event. But we also right now have with us Caroline King, one of the co-hosts of a podcast about beer, Tim. Dare I say the name?
I'm going to say it, and then we're going to censor it in post.
Are we?
She's with the Beer Podcast. Again, that is Beer Podcast, and we'll put a link to that in the show notes.
Sure.
But I bet people can figure it out. Yeah. Caroline, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And again, Beer Podcast, we're going to let you tell folks what that is all about.
Yeah, so we started exactly 1 year ago, and what we do is we focus on women in the beer industry. I initially started the podcast because I wanted to learn more about beer, but didn't really feel like beer kind of spoke to me. There were, pretty much all the stuff out there is done by dudes, which no big deal, like dudes are great. But what we've done is we speak to women who are brewmasters, who are sales managers, who are taproom managers, and they explain the world of beer to us in a voice that we can appreciate and understand, and just it's been amazing. It's been absolutely incredible. The beer industry has just really embraced us ever since we got started, and we're having a great time.
That's good stuff. So do you find, is it easier for you to talk beer woman to woman than it is talking to a guy? Do you feel that's a little easier?
We've met some amazing men. You guys are included. I was telling you guys earlier, y'all are like
we're fantastic.
Oh, we love y'all. Y'all are like our big brothers. Y'all have been so great to us. But I feel like initially with women kind of can kind of talk about beer in a way that not that guys mansplain all the time, but that is something we get. I mean, Ashley and I, we had an experience a couple weeks ago. I won't say which brewery, but we went to a brewery, and the head brewer kept talking to our sound engineer the whole time. Didn't even make eye contact with us. We're the hosts of the Beer Podcast, and he kept looking directly at our sound engineer, who's a guy, and telling us about the beer, and we're like, we're right here, and it's not anything intentional at all, but it's just that little thing that sometimes people don't always think about.
Well, that's our creative producer Becky Smalls has experienced this before.
She has.
I know that Smalls went to a restaurant one time, and the restaurant had said, anytime you stop in, please ask to talk to us, talk to the manager. So she did, and they come over to the table, and of course they direct it to her boyfriend right away.
Gosh. Wow.
We've been standing in groups with Smalls at breweries, and the brewers will talk to Brian and I all day and just almost not acknowledge her. We hate to admit that because we love to think that everything was cool and level and all that, but yes, we have personally seen that.
Yeah, and it's nothing, it's nothing intentional. People don't realize they're doing it, and that's why it's so important for us to be in the beer industry, is to let people know that there are amazing women in the beer industry. There are amazing women that love beer and enjoy beer, and if you cut off women from your conversation, you're cutting off like the majority of your purchasers. So it's just something to remind people of.
Yeah, in certain parts of the country, actually women outpace men in terms of beer purchases. I think Oregon and Washington, some parts of the West Coast, some states randomly, it varies, but it's often very close. So it's a huge portion of the beer consuming populace. They're women, you have to actually engage them and involve them in what's going on.
Everybody should be welcome in craft beer.
Indeed.
Everybody. It's a wonderful beverage. It's a community. I mean, look at the group out here today of all these amazing people having a good time. and enjoying this festival. And it is good to see a very diverse crowd at
So
these beer
diverse.
fests and that. So it's really cool. And you guys, congratulations. You just celebrated your 1-year anniversary
Thank
recently,
you.
right?
It was so much fun. Shout out to Arches Brewing. They absolutely, Ashley Henry over there, she hooked us up. She did this amazing party for us, and we had so much fun. We had amazing people show up. Just seeing after just 1 year in the industry how many people just like really rallied around us, even if they didn't show up to the event. We had people sending us messages and text messages and shouting us out on Instagram. It was just amazing support from the entire beer community. It was great.
Cool.
We were really
Awesome
proud
stuff.
of that.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
congrats.
Thank you.
Brian, we're going to get crazy. We're mixing things up this week. Brian, what are our beers of the week?
Crack open a cold one. It's the Truck and Tap Beer of the Week. Craft beer and food trucks in downtown Woodstock. Truckandtap.com.
So the beers of the week are really what I've run around while we were getting ready to do the show and consumed in preparation for the show. So I started off with a Southern Brewing Company Maui OPP IPA. So I followed that up with a Good Word / Carolina Bauerhouse Perp Milkshake IPA, which was indeed perp or purple. Followed that up with an Alcovy Tropical Pale Ale because we'll be talking to them later.
That's what I'm drinking right now. It's delicious.
Good
Nice,
stuff. Good,
nice.
good.
Had to get that Mazert Got No Dime barley wine because I like barley wines and it's Mazert. So probably my favorite beer so far, the Atlanta Brewing Company Lincoln Fill Station Collab, the Barrel Aged Pecan Pie Stout. Tim,
That was delicious. I
that
enjoyed
is
that one
heaven.
a lot. Absolutely. I also enjoyed the Cherry Street Lincoln Fill Station collaboration, which was the Shirewood Barley Wine.
oh yes, yeah,
Which
yeah.
was really, really good.
That was quite
And,
nice.
I saw another one that I've just gotten into the last couple of weeks that I want to get into some more is Monday Night's Fistful of Cake.
Oh my God, it's so good.
That is so good.
Oh, it's so good.
I'm looking forward to that one a lot. Carolyn, any here that you're really looking forward to getting into today?
Any of the beers?
Yes.
Oh gosh. Okay, so I did already have the Dogfish Head, the 18%er. That was really great. The Three Taverns, the cream sour. That's really good.
Cream
It's-
Weaver?
Yes,
Is that
Cream
it?
Weaver.
Cream Weaver.
Oh my God, it tastes like key lime pie. It's so good. And I'm gonna have some more of that pecan stout from ABC. I'm gonna have more of that. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to just trying as much as I can, and balancing that fine line of trying a lot of beer and not puking. So
Responsibility and fun. Such a tricky
I had my
balance
Chick-fil-A
there.
before I came out here to
There
line
you
my
go.
stomach. And
Nicely done. There's that AleSmith. There's the Hawaiian. I can't remember. what it
Hawaiian
is.
Speedway.
Hawaiian Speedway. That's the one.
Ooh.
I keep seeing that. And I'm like, I'm gonna get that, and then I get distracted by something else and go get that instead. There are a lot of options here. It's an impressive list of beer.
And there's always a few surprises that pop up.
Sure.
They've got a bottle popping thing that they do, I think, every 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a different beer. And Tinypalooza, for those of you who are not in the Atlanta area or Snellville, Georgia, it's a beer bar, bottle shop, cigar shop, hangout, cool spot. And
All of
this
the
is
above.
Tinypalooza 4.5. In order to work with the weather a little bit better, they actually do their anniversary at the half-year point. And Brian, I'm dodging basketballs right now.
I know people are
As if
throwing basketballs at us right now.
We are set up at this festival next to a basketball beer pong competition, and we've been dodging a little bit
Yeah.
today. So you got to duck
a
and
lot.
dodge.
And it's gotten worse since we started recording. They've been nailing the tent. They've been nailing the table. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
well,
just
that's.
insane.
I think people are getting more drinks in them now.
That's
Yeah,
true.
they're getting
That has a
braver.
lot- Yes. So they, before long, they may just throw them directly at us.
They might. They might.
Extra points there. So,
It's a good thing I'm wearing my helmet, Tim.
yes, as you should. It's probably best for you.
In radio, nobody can prove that I'm not.
That's right, yeah. And Tinypalooza, Lincoln Fill Station is a great spot. They do this once a year with a really amazing beer list, and we've just got a lot of cool stuff going on and enjoying a lot of great beers. Talk to some cool people, Brian.
Indeed, it's been great. I enjoy it. I think this is always fun. It's never super crowded either. It's a nice laid back atmosphere. You can go for the crazy every 15 minutes, the Cantillons and all the fun stuff that they're opening up, or you can just kind of laze about, kind of stroll from place to place, and nothing,
Casual.
no lines really, except
Yeah.
for apparently the burger place over there, but no lines other than that.
It is lively but uncrowded, correct?
Yes, lively but uncrowded.
It's a good time, man. We've been here the last 4 years since Beer Guys Radio has been a thing. We've been at this event every year, so it's a good time.
I think we've been to all of them, right? That's every one that's been.
Well, the 4.5 threw me off. If it had just been 4, so I don't know, was there a half? So is it 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, 4.5? Because if it is, then we've been to every one.
That's possible. We'll have
find
to ask
that out
Tiny.
later. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We do need to take a break, but we'll be back very soon with more from Tinypalooza.
It's Brian and Tim, the Beer Guys. If you're like us, no lunch or dinner is complete without a pint or two of craft beer.
Which is why Truck and Tap in downtown Woodstock and Alpharetta are always on our list. Tim, why do they call it Truck and Tap?
Well, the tap part is easy, Brian. They've got 18 of them.
As for the truck part, that's where it gets interesting. Truck and Tap features your favorite Atlanta area food trucks daily, so that way you're getting a different menu every day.
Truck and Tap in downtown Woodstock, Alpharetta, and coming soon to Duluth in 2018. Truckandtap.com. Let them know that the Beer Guys sent you.
As a brewery owner or taproom manager, are you looking for ways to enhance your customer experience while maximizing your revenues? Craft Cellar is a mobile solution that helps your brewery drive sales and attract new customers through online pre-sales for beer releases, events, and memberships. Get details now at craftcellar.com. Mention Beer Guys Radio after sign-up and extend your free trial to a full 30 days. Remember, craftcellar.com, craftcellr.com.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Next Friday is Hawaiian Shirt Day. So, if you want to, go ahead and wear a Hawaiian shirt and jeans.
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. If you missed an episode, don't worry. All episodes are available as a podcast. Subscribe on your favorite podcasting app and never miss a show. We're talking to Brian Roth from Southern Brewing Company now.
Brian, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing really well. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Good.
How are you guys today?
We're
Beautiful
doing
day.
great, man. It's a gorgeous day out here. So this is our 4th year, doing the Tinypalooza. And it's been very, very windy every year before. And our tent is not blowing away today,
which is
nice.
That's
very
fantastic.
nice. But gorgeous day for a beer fest, isn't it?
Oh, it's you couldn't ask for better weather right now. And I feel like one of the better beer fests in the entire eastern half of the United States.
I think it's still underrated.
It is very underrated.
I don't think a lot of people know just yet that this exists. And Tinypalooza is a great festival. I think especially in Georgia, people may not think coming out to a bottle shop for a festival, but they crank it out here. They do really nice.
And I feel like it's a brewers festival, right? Like everyone comes out here. You get a chance to talk to a lot of people that are in the industry. So it's this great conglomeration of people hanging out. So
it's a good time, man. What are you pouring at the fest today?
We got a bunch of great stuff going on over there. Some collaborative items. We've got a fruited version, basically, of Maui that we've got going on, which has been fantastic. And then I'd have to get with John on the other two.
I think it's like OPP. Is that right? OPP Maui?
That's the OPP Maui is the fruited Maui.
Okay.
So that was papaya mango, which is weird, right? Because when you're making beer and you put a bunch of fruit on it. So let's say we're in Maui and we're out of secondary, we throw a bunch of fruit juice on it, and then all of a sudden it's drinking overly sweet and fruity, so we've run it through a secondary fermentation. So it was neat to be able to try that beer, understand where the concept was, working with these guys on the collaboration, and then letting it dry out a little bit, retaining a lot of those characteristics that you want, and then losing kind of that sugar quality, because otherwise it would just drink like an overly sweet fruit juice. And you lose the hop character.
Isn't that the in thing right now?
It is in the in thing.
Hazy, a little orange juicy looking, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of orange juice, there reportedly, and I haven't seen it yet, the Blood Orange Dry Hop Foeder beer.
Oh yeah, no, that's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I'm very much a fan of your whole Foeder line. Do you still call it the Southern Woodpile? Is that right?
We do, and we're, it's tough on that side because there's a lot of education involved in trying to get people to drink sour and complex beers, and I feel like other parts of the United States are a little more advanced from like the general population standpoint. So we've done a good job in Athens of doing a lot of education, and I feel like the traction that's kind of being pulled out of it's been good. And then the collaborations we're doing here and with places like the Porter in Atlanta are really kind of pushing that, and that's been fantastic. So the stock we've got right now is great. The science that we've been doing behind it's been really solid, so we've been working with those guys.
Fortunately for us, there was we don't know yet if it's a pop-up or a permanent location, but Wicked Weed was going to put kind of a Funkatorium type thing in Atlanta, and we're really lucky because they said they're going to be bringing sour beers to Atlanta.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if Orpheus or Monday Night Brewing or Good Word or any of these other guys that have already been doing sour beers are aware of that, but Wicked Weed is bringing it. So
yeah, when I think that's fantastic, right? Like a rising tide is going to raise all ships, and knowing all of the other local guys and what a great job they've been doing on that side anyway. I mean, I couldn't say enough great things about Orpheus, Monday Night, and Todd and the guys over at Good Word. They're doing epic beers and doing them well in the way that you would want them to be done, not just kettle soured stuff kind of rushed and thrown into packaging.
Yeah, I mean, I know Jason Pellett there at Orpheus. We've known Jason since before the brewery opened.
Sure, yeah.
And he just did an MT3 Methode Traditional 3-year blend of stuff that he had when he opened his brewery up. So there's some cool stuff happening.
It's super cool. And so we will actually release ours this fall. So we're on our 4th year of cool shipping basically on our property in the backyard, which is good. So and that's exciting, right? We went to Jester King's Spawn release a while back, learned a bunch talking to Garrett and the guys down there. We had already been doing some cool ship stock and kind of adding on to it every year, but that's such a cool process, and the more people know about that and the more people that do that, I feel like that's going to elevate that category, basically.
Absolutely.
Sure,
absolutely.
yeah.
Speaking, we talked some of collaborations, and I got to throw this in here, Brian.
You do, yes.
We recently released a collaboration with you guys, along with our friends from Reddit ATL Beer, the coolest beer forum around.
Heck yeah.
And I tell you what, I'll let you talk a little bit about what the beer was we did with you there.
Yeah, so Tastefully Edgy, I think, ended up being a fantastic process. So kind of a one-off barrel, aged on peaches, and just the concept, I think, all the way around, like bringing folks in, really kind of the beginning of playing around with doing collaborations with an outside community in that sense.
Not a brewer kind of folks, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, even with brewers, but we haven't done a lot of sour collaborations outside of the folks at the Porter for the most part. So that's always been an area where we've kind of got an idea of which direction we want to go into, but being a collaborative fellow, I always like how people come in and push you to do different things. So
sure.
I feel like the best part of that collaboration is this community sense where everyone gets together, they kind of get an idea, you've all got to kind of placate the entire group, so you move in the direction that the group goes in, and it might not be the direction that any individual would have gone into, but it makes you kind of go into some uncharted territory, and I feel like that beer, fantastic.
It is. And for
even
those,
the naming.
Right, even the label, the name, everything. And even some of us had brewed a good bit before coming there, but we had some guys that were new to it, so it's a super educational process. We did I think it was a Blondell base.
Yeah, I believe
fermented, open fermented in a barrel, oak barrel.
I think it was a white wine barrel, yeah?
Well, it was aged in a white wine barrel. I don't know if the fermentation,
okay.
And then reconditioned on the apricots and peaches. So there's a lot of cool process in this beer for you to learn, to educate you about it.
Oh, 100%. And a lot, I feel like everybody on all sides kind of learned and picked up out of that. So it kind of goes back to talking about taking a beer like Maui and throwing a bunch of fruit on it on the fermentation side and having to go back and re-ferment it. Sometimes when you throw fruit, and especially on that, when you start off with a raw ingredient, not sour, and you know the direction you want to go into, and we had a lot of conversation on the backside of that where we had to keep tasting the barrel and say, we don't feel like it's there yet, let's give it a little more time, or we feel like this is the exact right time, and then get people to try that and agree. Like that was a good kind of a benchmark for us, I think, in that situation.
So I think we can't not bring up something that we've seen teased on social media. Something is happening in Monroe, is that right? What is that? What's going on there?
So we're lucky enough, the city of Monroe reached out to us and said, hey, we would love to get Southern Brewing Company in Monroe, which wasn't really on our radar. It was an idea that right when they first mentioned it, we didn't really know how we felt about it until we went down to the city and kind of talked to them. But what I like about the city of Monroe specifically is when you look at how the laws have had to change over Georgia in a period of time, and you look at what Terrapin had to go through being the first brewery in Athens or other places that you're the first brewery, there's a lot that you have to do to change the local establishment to understand what you're doing and to not see it as something bad. Monroe actually was very proactive and went out and looked at every city in the state of Georgia that had cool beer laws and adopted pretty much everybody else's laws. So it's actually one of the best towns in the state of Georgia right now for a brewer. So they have an open container law that allows you to walk within a 6-block radius, which is fantastic. So very enticing.
Now, the main question I have here about this is, where in the world is Monroe, Georgia?
It's on this same road that we're on right now.
Okay.
It's halfway between Athens, Georgia, and Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay. All right, cool.
But that's kind of splitting the difference between Athens and in Atlanta a little bit too.
Sure. And it made a little more sense, I think, from that reason. But the people who have the space that we're going to go into, I think what happened was it just turned into a giant collaboration, not just with the people that own the space, but Monroe, Georgia in general. So they've been very, generous, I guess would be the best way to describe it, with helping us out and kind of navigating us through those waters. We should be open sometime in July, and it's a gorgeous old horse stable in the middle of Monroe, Georgia.
Full tap room and production and everything.
Yeah, and they're shooting a lot of film stuff down there on the Hollywood side, and they do a live concert series every week on Friday, starting in April through the early fall. So that's kind of cool too.
Brian, thank you so much for joining us, man. We always love talking to you. We love Southern Brewing Company.
We love you guys, and thank you all for everything that you've done for the industry. It's been
absolutely
fantastic.
Man. Thanks. Enjoy the rest of the fest.
Cheers. Have a great day. Thanks.
You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We do need to take a break, but we'll be back very soon to talk more from Tinypalooza.
Is your brewery or restaurant flooring looking a little worse for wear? Your foundation needs to be protected from heat, chemicals, and other contaminants. At the same time, you need something slip resistant yet cleanable with soap and water. ResTech has been manufacturing poured-in-place flooring since 2002 and offers a variety of solutions for your facility's needs. If your floor needs a little TLC, stop by our booth at the Craft Brewers Conference in Denver or visit our website at restech.net. That's res-tek.net.
Craft beer forged with a reverence for tradition and new styles that start a revolution. Ironmonger Brewing. The brewers at Ironmonger Brewing pride themselves at being masters of barrel-aged, hoppy, and sour beers. They invite you to their tap room in Marietta, Georgia to taste and see. Also visit their barrel room for an intimate drinking experience with great live entertainment. Keep up to date on all things Ironmonger by liking them on Facebook. Ironmonger Brewing, establishing a new standard in craft beer.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Well, I'm sure I'd feel much worse if I weren't under such heavy sedation.
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. If you enjoy the show, please consider supporting us on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/beerguys. Patrons can get some cool perks like Beer Guys swag and commercial-free episodes. Now let's talk to the organizer of Tinypalooza, the one, the only, Tiny McClannan. And we also have JP here, the beer ranger, the local beer ranger for New Belgium. So we're going to talk to both these guys, Tim.
Guys, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, Tiny, congrats on 4.5 years.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, so we had a little debate. Was 1.5, was that the first Tinypalooza?
2.5 was the first Tinypalooza. So we had our anniversary, which is technically July 4th. But to do this on July 4th would be
difficult.
Not a good idea.
So hot.
Terrible. So we did our first anniversary, then we skipped our second anniversary, but then did 2.5.
Okay.
Which was coincided with my 50th birthday. So that's why it was called Tinypalooza. And then we never thought Tinypalooza was going to stick. We just thought it was like a one-time hit, and that was it. But everyone kept asking, well, what's up with Tinypalooza? What's up with Tinypalooza? So we didn't want to jinx ourselves, so we kept it that
Keep
name.
it going then, right?
Keep it going until
I think we've been at every one. This is 4 years for us, so we've been here.
You've
Good
been
stuff,
to every
man.
single one. You guys, this was your first out of studio broadcast.
Our first
location.
At that time, we were on 920 here in Atlanta, the radio station, and that was our first live broadcast. We were live on the air there, so that was a knuckle biter of a time. Because at the time, I had been doing a radio for a total of like 4 months, and then we'd pre-recorded all of the earlier shows. So we're like, let's do it, trial by fire. Let's get out. It's a live show.
And it was perfect.
Good. We lucked out on that one, man. We did it.
You did good.
So.
Yeah. No one would have known it was 4 months.
And I can see why people would keep calling for it to come back. I know from the very first one, or I think I've been to all of them too. I wasn't even with the show at that point in time. I came in here and I'm like, this was a really, really good beer fest. Everybody should be here. Once they learn about it, everybody will be here. And, it does get busy here, but it never gets slammed like some of the other festivals do. And seriously, one of my favorites that happens every year.
I mean,
absolutely.
We don't want it where people have to wait 20, 30 minutes for a drink. And that never seems to happen, which is nice. We've kind of spread it out over the parking lot. We have a big area to utilize. And it works out well. I mean, and we just try to get really good beer that people haven't had before. And JP brings us beer that, there's one keg in the entire state. So that's a draw for little old Snellville, Georgia.
How about that? And what's the one keg beer that's here?
So we did a beer using PX sherry barrels. So we took our Lawfully, we aged it in Pedro Jimenez sherry barrels, and then added some Tahitian vanilla bean, and it's also on nitro. So it's the only keg that came here to Georgia. I think we got like one case total that came to Georgia too. So really, really rare. Very good beer.
Whale chasing stuff, right?
Yeah,
Ticking whales here today, aren't we?
Definitely is whale chasing. It's unbelievable.
And I have to comment that this is, I think, the best smelling beer festival that I go to. The aroma of cigar smoke has been constant, and I'm just in love with that. I walked in, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Like,
it's definitely encouraged.
Burning the Oliva Milanios a lot here, and other Oliva goods. So I think that's what you've been had them here every single time. Every single time.
They request and ask to come back, which is nice to have. Where we don't have to chase anybody down, and the cigar guys goes, when is the next Tinypalooza? We want to put it on our calendar now. Yeah. We want to make sure we're there. Like, here we go. So it's great.
Because we do a lot of beer fests that are inside, and then I think the ones that we have done outside are non-smoking.
I believe so.
So you can't. This is the only fest you got to take advantage of while you can, Brian. This is the only time you can be on the air smoking a cigar.
Allowed and encouraged.
And encouraged,
yes,
which is the big part there.
I got several texts from Brian, like, are we going to be close to the cigar tent?
Yeah.
Can we be close to the cigar tent?
Yeah.
Absolutely, brother.
Can
Absolutely.
you set us up inside the cigar tent?
How many ashtrays can we get?
Yeah, exactly.
Now, you know what? You have partnered with Owen Ogletree of Brewtopia Events. You're giving away a pretty insane prize here today, aren't you?
We are. So everyone who enters gets a chance to go on a trip with Brad and I. We're both going to Belgium in October on an Owen trip, and we're raffling off that trip to go with us. You can buy more raffle tickets to get a chance, better your odds. But I think it's in second week of October. Everything's paid for minus airfare. You got to get your own airfare. You got to get there, and everything else taken care of.
I'm out there.
So, but yeah, it's something that we want to give back to the customers. Like I said, this is technically we consider our 5-year anniversary, even though it's 4.5. And we just want to give back to the people that got us to this point.
Now, didn't you just get back from a Spain trip?
We did.
This guy's always
you're going
traveling
to Belgium in October.
Life's rough, man.
What the heck?
Life's terrible.
How was the scene there in Spain? How was the craft beer and all that
It was
stuff in
unbelievable. I mean, I had never been to Spain. I didn't know what to expect. Beer scene was unbelievable. It was really, really more than what I expected. Just beer scene. The scenery was out of this world. Just the ocean and everything else was just amazing. I mean, if I had the money to retire, that'd be one of the spots I'd want to retire.
What parts of Spain did you go to?
We were in Barcelona. We were in San Sebastian.
Oh yeah.
One other city that I can't remember. But we were in between, busing from one spot to the other. Owen would find this little teeny brewery that's about the size of the porta potty, you know, and they would make these fantastic beers in the middle of nowhere. I mean, you'd look out and there'd be cows and sheep, and there'd be a little brewery. And like, oh, how in the world did you find
The cows that was the brewmaster and probably the packaging manager.
Yeah, he was. I'm sure he was.
Yeah.
I'm sure he was.
Did they have any hemp beers?
They had no. If they did, I didn't see them.
Okay, I don't know if anybody around here does any hemp beers. JP, do you know anything about a hemp beer?
We do, of course, with
Yeah.
Emperor, and with the farm bill that passed too, we're changing up the recipe and being able to utilize a little bit more of the hemp plant. So they're working on it in Colorado right now, and hopefully you'll be seeing a new facelift from that one.
So let me tell you a story of the first time I tried hemp.
Here we go.
We were in Arsenal Tap Room over in is that Augusta? Is Arsenal Augusta? I think that's Augusta. We did. So our journey in 2018 was we visited every brewery and brew pub in the state of Georgia. So I forget exactly, but I think our Arsenal is in Augusta. But so they had it on the menu there, the hemper. We order it. They bring it over, open it next to you, and pour it. Within maybe 2 minutes, people on the entire other side of the bar, somebody got a hemper. Somebody got a hemper. So if you like intense, dank, if you like the smell of weed,
that's it.
Get you a hemper, right?
Indeed.
We used to, when I would sample it at like restaurants and stuff, you'd see like the whole kitchen staff come out from the back like, whoa, what is that?
Right.
It's just a beer. It's just a beer.
So when we tapped it here, literally we had 3 couples walk in and then walk back out because they had no idea what they had walked into just from the smell.
We're in the wrong kind of bar here.
I thought we were in Snellville.
You're putting something else in the cigars.
So you said you're retooling that beer. Will there be an expansion of more beers using the compounds of the hemp?
We'll see, definitely. We worked really closely with Willie Nelson's group with the whole hemp, all that good stuff. So all the stuff that we came out with, the hats, t-shirts, everything was made from hemp when we launched Emperor too. So we were really trying to push along the sustainability of hemp, and it might be something that we see further down the line of making an extension with.
So you've got another thing that I saw recently. You've got people voting on a new Voodoo Ranger. Is that right?
Yeah. So Voodoo Ranger is on fire, and we've did a new rotation series that we have out with Liquid Paradise being the one out right now. Then Jucifer will be coming up in another couple of weeks. Yeah. And then the third one this year will be Voter's Choice. So right now you can go online and vote from our website. And one of them, I believe, is like a grapefruit Citra IPA, which has like a Star Wars theme to it, and the other one is an Avengers theme one, and it's a pineapple IPA that we're doing. So
that sounds like my jam there.
That sounds both of those sound good to me. Yeah.
JP, Tiny, thank you so much for joining us. Tiny, congrats on your anniversary and another great festival.
Guys.
We appreciate you joining us.
You guys are always welcome. You know that.
Thanks, sir. We appreciate that.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We do need to take a break, but we'll be back very soon to talk more from Tinypalooza.
Is your brewery or restaurant flooring looking a little worse for wear? Your foundation needs to be protected from heat, chemicals, and other contaminants. At the same time, you need something slip-resistant yet cleanable with soap and water. ResTech has been manufacturing poured-in-place flooring since 2002 and offers a variety of solutions for your facility's needs. If your floor needs a little TLC, stop by our booth at the Craft Brewers Conference in Denver or visit our website at restech.net. That's res-tek.net.
It's Brian and Tim, the Beer Guys. If you're like us, no lunch or dinner is complete without a pint or two of craft beer. Which is why Truck and Tap in downtown Woodstock and Alpharetta are always on our list. Tim, why do they call it Truck and Tap? Well, the tap part is easy, Brian. They've got 18 of them. As for the truck part, that's where it gets interesting. Truck and Tap features your favorite Atlanta area food trucks daily, so that way you're getting a different menu every day. Truck and Tap in downtown Woodstock, Alpharetta, and coming soon to Duluth in 2018. Truckandtap.com. Let them know that the Beer Guys sent you.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
You passed out cigarettes for a smoke-a-thon on Earth Day. You installed speed bumps on the handicapped ramps. And most recently, you dumped 100 pounds of meat on a peaceful vegan protest.
Oh, come on. That was way more than 100 pounds.
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. I want to give a quick shout out to one of our great radio affiliates, Real Talk 93.3 FM in Tallahassee, Florida. Catch Beer Guys Radio on Real Talk 93.3 every Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern. Now we're talking to Joe, Paul, and Cody Winters, the co-founders of Alcovy Brewing Company.
Guys, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Alcovy, you've done Tinypalooza at least a couple of times. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. This is our third year at Tinypalooza. We had a beer a couple of years ago called Tiny's Reserve. It was a big old barley wine, and it was real popular inside. And then last year we had, I guess, 6 beers on tap. We had a little rotation going, and then this year we have 4 beers going.
Very cool, guys.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now, can you tell me about Alcovy Brewing?
Alcovy Brewing has been going since 2012, and it's something that we started totally on our own, and Cody started brewing, and I just kind of joined in with it. And we've been in Loganville, and I mean, I don't know, we have cool friends, we collaborate a lot, and we get to come to Tinypalooza and Atlantic Cascade tasting and Classic City Beer Fest, and outside of those things, you won't see us.
Yeah, how do you work that out? That's a really impressive list of events to get into.
You have to impress the right people, for sure. I mean, I don't know, that sounds ridiculous. You just have to, right place at the right time. And, Owen Ogletree or Tiny or Brad walks up and tastes your beer and says, "Man, that is good," and then you get to participate, and that's been pretty awesome for us, and we've been really fortunate that they've been so generous to us, and we try to give them as much credit as we can. Tiny and Brad are just amazing, letting us be here, and it's just been really fun.
Very good, guys. Now, you're Gypsy Brewing right now, is that right?
Absolutely.
Who do you brew with? I got to look, man.
Yeah.
Is this super secret information right
now?
You
could call it we're the Underground Brewing Company.
Underground, okay.
A lot more collaborations, I think.
Collaborations.
But you're looking to go Gypsy, right?
Yeah, we're definitely. So Gypsy
process.
would be the next step.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess the next step for Alcovy Brewing is to really have some skin in the game, and more so than we do right now. I mean, right now we pay for everything ourselves, and we do everything ourselves, and we do all the marketing ourselves, and all of that. I mean, we pay for it out of our own pocket, but the next step is to actually look for some return on that, and try to do some contract brewing. And so in the next 12 months, that's really our big goal, is to do some contract brewing and maybe get some stickers so you can put them on your
stickers 2020.
That's stickers 2020.
We gave these guys.
We're definitely the slow burn. The Slow Burn Brewery, because we've been around for a while, and we've been brewing for a while, and we've been sharing our beer for a long time, and one day we might make money off of it, and that'd be cool.
So the Gypsy Brewing is that a step on the road to your own brewery and tap room, or are you thinking Gypsy Brewing is kind of your goal, your destination?
I think that's a big step for us. We looked at just opening the brewery, and really the cost on the front end for us. We're both dads. We're full-time job guys, and just trying to brew 40 hours a week and work 40 hours a week was not going to work.
It's tough.
Yeah. And it just wasn't going to happen, and especially for the return that we were looking at with the setup that we had kind of going. So eventually, hopefully we'll move into Gypsy Brewing, and then from there we'll be able to open big enough that we can do it full time, and go 100%.
There's a small brew pub in Canton, Georgia called Green Line Brews. And we went up there one time, we met the owner, we're talking to him, and what Green Line basically was a homebrew club, a few buddies that brewed at one guy's house, and the wife told the husband that the brewing was getting too big, he had to get the heck out of there, and he found a great deal on a small building, and he's like, So he turned his homebrew club into a brew pub. He's like, we all work full-time jobs, so we brew when we get a chance. We may run out of beer, and we don't care. We'll keep other guest taps on. And that was it. It was just an extension of his home brewing and a hobby. And he admitted, he's like, I'm just doing this because I enjoy it. You know, I'm not looking to get rich or make a killing. We just got a cool spot to hang out, brew beer, and have a good time. So
I think that's definitely the way that we view it. And, you know, with the guys that we brewed with in the past and the guys that we consider to be our good friends, Southern Brewing, Slow Pour, and some guys like that, you know, we would love to brew with them on a more official basis and really set that up. But that's totally on us. We have to pursue that more to make it happen. And so contract brewing is the next step, and hopefully we'll be full-on brewing in the next, few years.
So Cody, we'll get you talking here a little bit. How did you guys meet? I know your Joe is pretty much like the vocal mouthpiece for the Alcovy, but get your take on it. How did you guys meet?
Most definitely. Our wives were good friends growing up, and like Joe said, 7-8 years ago, we started hanging out just as families, and I had a appreciation for craft beer that I started sharing with Joe, and my cousin kind of inspired me a little bit to get into the brewing world. I had brewed a number of times with him, and we picked up brewing. Joe started brewing with me, and it's, I'm an engineer by trade, so half the fun for me is building the system and building the recipes, and it's just kind of grown and evolved into this monster of a homebrew obsession that we share together. And we've gone from in late 2012 just extract brewing to now in 2019 we're here at our third festival. We've won a number of awards, and it's just been a good time.
I mean, we started out like drinking Miller Lite, hanging out on his in-laws patio together because we were both living with our in-laws straight out of college, and now, I mean, we're best friends. We're like brothers, and it's just beer has been this huge part of our relationship, and that and our love of the outdoors has really led to this big thing for us, and we just love it. We just hang out, have a good time.
Do you guys have any certain styles that you like to focus on, or a bit of everything? What's your outlook there?
A little bit of everything. We I think have probably a deeper appreciation for Belgians than a lot of general homebrewers. We like doing all kinds of different crazy Belgian ales. We like historical beers in general. We did a beer at Southern Brewing one time called Ernt Beer. It was kind of a lost, forgotten German style. We like pursuing things like that. And
tell me about that one, man.
Yeah,
what's that style? I'm not familiar with that one.
So Ernt Beer is this beer from like way back in the day in Germany that eventually was deemed illegal because it wasn't 50-50, if I'm remembering right. It wasn't 50-50 with wheat and barley, and it was just like this crazy lost style that we brewed, and we actually brewed it for our homebrew club, and we won a competition for that. And then we brewed it with Brian and those guys over at Southern, and got to do a little thing with that. And so it was just kind of our introduction into like brewing at a brewery, and it was really cool. And our introduction into competition brewing. And since then we brewed styles from, American Pale Ales to German Hefeweizens to Belgian doubles and things like that. And most recently, we brewed a Belgian double for Atlantic Cascale tasting and one classic style for that.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool. And and now we're brewing here for Tinypalooza, and we're going to be at Classic City Beer Fest, and so.
So remembering back to when Tim and I used to homebrew, what is your approach to brewing? Do you start off conservative with your recipes and then tweak them, or do you just, like me, just go kind of wild with the recipes and have somebody like Tim trying to reel you back in? Like, hang on, let's nail this.
It's not an easy one to reel in either.
No, very difficult.
I would say that we're definitely more on we're big on the research side, and we will look up, and our text conversations back and forth are probably completely ridiculous and could be a book in and of themselves between what we're talking about doing and with the beer and all that kind of stuff and the sources. And Cody will say something like, hey, I found this recipe online, and I'll say, yeah, but let's do this with it. And then we just it just kind of goes from there, and we develop the recipe on our own. I don't think we've ever found a recipe that we just brewed straight up and said, let's just brew this. We've always done some tweaking to it and built off of it, which I think is what all homebrewers do, and anybody who does anything with consumables, that's what you do. You don't just make it the way it says. You always got to have your own flair.
You got to put your own stink on it, right, Tim?
Completely.
In your case.
Yes.
In your case, Brian. Awesome. Well, guys, thanks for joining us. I think we're out of time, Brian.
I think we are, yeah.
The time goes by so fast when you're having fun. Alcovey Brewing, guy. If folks want to find out what's going on with you guys, what's the best way to do that?
You can find us on Facebook, or you can find us Alcovey Brewing, alcoveybrewing.com. And if you want to be involved, just let us know. Drop us a line, and we will be in contact with you. So appreciate it.
Awesome, guys. Thanks again. We appreciate it. Well, that about wraps it up for this episode of the Beer Guys Radio Show. Coming up next week, more Brewfest talk, Brian.
Oh.
More Brewfest, but it will be our last one for about a month, I think. It's just Brewfest season. We're cranking out a lot of them. But we were going to be at Classic City Brewfest in Athens, Georgia. For more craft beer info, follow us online. We are Beer Guys Radio on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks again for tuning in. Have a great week, and don't forget to drink local. Cheers.
The Beer Guys Radio Show on the Beer Guys Radio Network. BeerGuysRadio.com.